Okay, so this is part 2 of that chapter 18 for An American Tragedy, the book on the Idaho 4. Now, I already did chapters, basically prologue, and all the way to chapter 18. And this is the second part of 18 because I ran out of time. But this is the timeline that they're putting in this book of what happened on the night of the murders. If you have not seen my previous videos, please go watch them and then come back to this one. Where we left off, it was 4:17 a.m. and Dylan is in her bed drifting in and out of the fitful post-game day sleep. Her walls were paper thin and that she could hear Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana when they got home and they were chatting on the couch in the living room. Next thing she hears is a familiar stomping as they go upstairs. She can dimly hear music from one of their bedrooms. But then everything turns surreal. She's not sure whether she's dreaming or awake. She thinks she hears someone frantically say, "There's someone here." And she's like saying that doesn't seem right. And so many people come out of the house. She gets up and opens the door a crack. Nothing. That was number 1 the first time she does it. Dylan goes back to bed, then hears someone crying. Is it Xana? So you hear someone crying and you don't do anything. You don't call for help. You don't go check on something. Nothing. You just open your door and go back to bed. A little weird, but okay. She gets up again and opens the door a fraction of an inch. She hears a male voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." That's number 2 time she opened the door. There's a thud and Murphy starts to bark. Dylan shuts her door again. Is she going crazy? Now there's silence again. She opens the door a 3rd time. That's when she sees the firefighter, or at least a bleary-eyed, that's what she thinks she's seeing. He's got bushy eyebrows. He's wearing a mask, holding a firefighting object, a bit like a vacuum. They make eye contact for a split second. She shuts the door and looks around for her taser. The battery is dead. She tries calling her friends downstairs, but then nothing. And then, thank God, Bethany calls her back. Dylan tells her she thinks she saw someone in black masked. Their call lasts less than a minute. Now, she never talked. It was never said in the PCA that she looked for her taser and that the battery was dead. And also, she opens her door multiple times and never calls for help if she thinks, or at least goes out and checks. I mean, she doesn't know anything nefarious is going on, like a murder. At least that's not the vibe we're getting. Yeah, so she calls everyone but doesn't go check on them once. So then they say on the lower level, Bethany switches to Snap and then again back to a text message. And she texts Dylan, "Yeah, dude, what the fuck?" Then Xana was wearing all black, ... It's a question, not a statement. So they're like clarifying that she's saying it's a question, not a statement. Yeah, because that doesn't make any sense. Why would Xana be wearing all black? What got me is like, if everything's so normal, they just think people are in and out of the house, why did they say run to Bethany's room? Never understood that. It's 4:24 a.m. and can Dylan run? Is it safe? Dylan tries Ethan's cell one more time. She and Bethany have another quick exchange. At 4:27 a.m., she tries Kaylee again, then Xana, still nothing. Dylan makes the decision to run. She sprints to Bethany's room. The two friends cling to one another. They keep trying to reach the roommates. Bethany tries Maddie's twice and Kaylee's twice. Dylan texts Kaylee. Bethany goes on Snap and Instagram looking for clues. Nothing. Why would you go on Snap and Instagram and look for cues but not call 911? So many questions in this case have not been answered, and I still don't have any answers. It's 4:37 a.m. Exhausted and terrified, the girls just pass out. So they think a masked intruder's in their house and they just go to sleep. Hear someone screaming or crying or whatever, they don't do anything. They just go to sleep. That's so bizarre, but they're supposed to be so scared. It says neither of them falls into a deep slumber. Bethany wakes up at 7:30 and calls her parents, telling them both the strange events of the night before. And then she tells herself Dylan just had a very bad dream. Dylan comes around 8 o'clock and also tells herself that she had a very bad dream after drinking too much. She immerses herself on Instagram for a couple hours. The house seems quiet, calm. She agrees with Bethany. She must have hallucinated the whole thing, but Bethany didn't. And at this point, they don't know anyone's been harmed, murdered, nothing. So why don't you just go upstairs and see what's going on? Especially when your roommates are not answering. Around 10:23 a.m. is when it should be time for the others to start waking. So Dylan starts texting them, asking if they're up, and no one responds. And that's when she starts to realize, apparently, that it's not a dream. 11:49 a.m., Dylan calls her classmate and Pi Phi sister, Jenna McClure, and asks her to come over. Again, why not the police? She also phones her big Emily, and that's when they come over, like Hunter Johnson goes over. And it says that Emily gets up to look for a sweatshirt. When she comes back, she sees Hunter Johnson has already left the apartment. He heads up the stairs and he makes his way up the steps of the house, heads up the stairs and sees Xana's bedroom door slightly ajar. Unusual. He opens it. He sees her lying inert, as if she's fallen backward on the floor face up. There's blood everywhere. As we could see, there was coming out of the house, yet the roommates see nothing and never bothered to check. He takes in Ethan on the bed behind her, facing the wall. Hunter's heart is about to explode. He doesn't go any further. He turns around, goes down, and tells Dylan and Bethany to call 911 and stay outside. He takes a breath, goes back upstairs, and this is weird. Takes a breath, goes back upstairs, and heads to the kitchen across the hall from Xana's room. He opens a drawer and takes out a kitchen knife. He's terrified. Why would he go back in the house? Then it says he's about to re-enter Xana's room when he hears someone coming with a knife. Why is he re-entering her room with a knife? Then it said that, I guess, he takes their pulses and he checks the closets for any sign of the murder. There is none. Emily has gone downstairs. He follows and waits for the cops in the living room. But why did he stay in the living room? And then Hunter doesn't know if Kaylee and Maddie were even in the house, and he fears the worst. Why not check on them too? That was my note. So that's part 2, and that's the timeline of chapter 18. And then we're into the part 2 called Inception of the book. But I will keep following and keep reviewing and summarizing this for you if you guys want to follow along. If you don't feel like reading it or buying it, I got you. So make sure you like and comment and follow along.